They fired me effective immediately. The words came from across that polished conference table, delivered with the casual authority of someone who's never had grease under their fingernails. Olivia Sterling, the newly appointed Efficiency Director of Industrial Manufacturing Systems, didn't even look up from her tablet when she said it. Mid-30s, sharp blazer, the kind of confident posture that comes from business school and zero time on a production floor. My name is Gerald Hutchinson. I'm 48 years old, and I've spent the last 25 years keeping industrial systems running when everyone else said they couldn't be fixed. Not the glamorous kind of work that gets you featured in magazines, the real kind. The kind that keeps production lines moving and compliance officers satisfied. I sat there, hands steady on the table, watching her scroll through spreadsheets like they were personal insults. The pressure gauge on the wall behind her read normal. 15 psi. Everything looked fine on the surface, but I could feel the system tension building like steam in a pipe with no release valve. Transition will be immediate. She continued, still not making eye contact. We're bringing systems management in-house. More efficient, better cost control. Behind her sat two people I didn't recognize. Some nervous woman from HR clutching a tablet and a younger man in an expensive suit who had consultant written all over him. No one from the floor. No one who understood what actually kept this place running. No one who'd ever felt the vibration when a bearing was about to fail or heard the subtle change in hydraulic pressure that meant trouble was coming. She finally looked up, expression somewhere between bored and irritated, like I was a machine that wouldn't start when she pressed the button. Before you go, hand over the manufacturing system, all of it, access credentials, source code, documentation. We'll need everything by end of business today. The room went quiet. The HR woman shifted uncomfortably. The consultant stopped typing. I didn't move, just sat there, keeping my expression neutral, letting the silence stretch like a cooling pipe under stress. Olivia's eyebrow raised slightly. Is there a problem? I smiled. The kind of smile you give someone when you know exactly which bolt is about to shear. I'm afraid I cannot. Her stylist stopped mid-tap. Excuse me, the system, I said, voice steady and professional. It's not yours to own. Olivia Sterling's confident posture shifted just slightly. A flicker of confusion crossed her face like a pressure drop in a stable system, before the corporate mask returned. We paid for development, she said, her tone sharpening. That makes it company property. I shook my head slowly. You paid for operational access, not ownership. The distinction is outlined clearly in Section 7 of your service agreement. What Olivia Sterling didn't know, what her consultant and her HR team and her entire efficiency restructuring plan had completely missed, was that the manufacturing system running industrial manufacturing's entire operation across 4 states wasn't software sitting on their servers. It was custom-built infrastructure I owned personally, licensed for their use, controlled from hardware they'd never seen. When they terminated my contract 3 minutes ago, they just disconnected themselves from the only thing keeping their production network from collapsing. In 48 hours, that oversight would cost them everything. But let me back up and show you how a guy who learned systems engineering the hard way got fired by someone who thought manufacturing was just numbers on a dashboard. I started at Ford in Detroit, back when American manufacturing still meant something. This was 1999, and the plants were already bleeding jobs to Mexico, but there was still real work being done. Real steel being shaped into real things that people needed. I learned on those assembly lines that every system has pressure points, and when you ignore them long enough, everything fails at once. Not gradually, all at once, like a chain snapping under load. The old-timers taught me to listen to the machinery. Not just look at the gauges, but feel the vibrations through the floor. Hear the subtle changes in hydraulic pressure. Smell when a bearing was overheating. You can't learn that from a computer screen. You learn it by standing next to a 20-ton press for 12 hours a day until you know exactly what normal sounds like. Lost that job when they moved production to Juarez in 2001. Watched them load our equipment onto trucks, while security guards made sure we didn't take anything that belonged to the company. Funny how they were real concerned about ownership when it was their stuff being protected. Spent the next 8 years bouncing between plants. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Milwaukee. Each one a little smaller than the last, each one trying to squeeze more production out of older equipment with fewer people. I learned to fix systems that weren't supposed to be fixable, improvise solutions that weren't in any manual, keep production running with spare parts that didn't exist anymore. By 2009, I'd had enough of watching good companies get bought by vultures who stripped out everything valuable and left empty buildings behind. Decided to go independent. Started small, building custom automation systems for shops that couldn't afford the big consulting firms. Word spread quietly through industry circles. The kind of reputation that gets you calls when someone's operation is falling apart and conventional consultants have failed. That's how I ended up working with industrial manufacturing 6 years ago. Walt Murphy, their operations supervisor at the time, called on a Thursday afternoon. His voice had the tight edge of someone staring at disaster. "Jerry, we just failed our third safety audit in 18 months, he said. State regulatory authority is threatening permit suspension. I need someone who understands how this actually works, not another consultant who learned manufacturing from PowerPoint slides." Walt was old school, came up through the ranks, spent years on assembly lines before moving into management. He understood that behind every clean dashboard and automated report, there's physical infrastructure that has to function without failure. When things break at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, you don't call MBA consultants. You call people who know which wrench to turn. When I walked into their main facility that first day, the chaos was immediately obvious. Production lines backing up because timing sequences were manual. Workers standing idle while supervisors made frantic phone calls trying to coordinate schedules. Safety systems running on backup protocols from 2005. The whole place felt like a machine running without proper lubrication, grinding itself to pieces one shift at a time. "We've got 6 different software platforms that don't communicate," Walt explained, walking me through the production floor. The noise was constant, hydraulic hisses, conveyor belt hums, the rhythmic thump of pneumatic presses. But underneath it all, I could hear the discord. Systems fighting each other instead of working together. Line supervisors use one system, quality control uses another. Safety monitoring is basically manual. Every shift change, we lose 2 hours just trying to synchronize operations. Walt stopped at a workstation where a supervisor was manually entering production numbers into 3 different terminals. "This is how we track output," he said. "Maria here has to input the same data into our ERP system, our quality control database, and our safety reporting platform, 3 times every hour for 12 hours a day." Maria looked up from her screens, and if any of them don't match, we have to figure out which one is wrong and start over. Sometimes the whole line stops while we sort it out. I spent the next hour walking the floor, feeling the vibrations through the concrete, listening to the machinery. Every system was isolated, running on its own schedule, its own logic. Like having 6 different orchestras playing 6 different songs in the same concert hall. The real problem wasn't the software. The real problem was that nobody understood how the physical systems connected to the information systems. They had programmers who knew code but had never stood next to a hydraulic press when it seized up. They had operations managers who understood production flow but couldn't read a database schema to save their lives. I spent the next 18 months building them a real system, not some off-the-shelf package that kind of works if you bend your entire operation to fit it. Custom automation algorithms that learned the specific timing patterns of their 4-state production network. Safety integration that actually connected with state regulatory monitoring. Real-time coordination that monitored every line and adjusted schedules dynamically based on actual conditions, not theoretical capacity. 180,000 lines of code. Every algorithm, every database structure, every hardware interface built from scratch and tested until it ran without failure. But more importantly, I installed custom hardware interfaces that connected directly to the production equipment. Sensors that monitored hydraulic pressure in real time. Temperature probes that tracked bearing heat. Vibration monitors that could detect problems weeks before they caused failures. The control room I built looked more like mission control than a typical factory office. Rows of monitors showing real-time data from every piece of equipment. Not just pretty dashboards with green and red lights, but actual diagnostic information. Oil pressure trending over time. Motor current draws that revealed bearing wear, conveyor belt tensions that predicted maintenance needs. Walt would spend hours in that control room, watching the data streams like a pilot monitoring engine performance. "This is incredible, Jerry," he said one afternoon, pointing at a trending graph that showed a gradual increase in hydraulic pressure on line 3. "We can see this pump starting to fail 3 weeks before it would have shut us down. Used to be we'd just run it until it quit. Then spend 2 days getting replacement parts while the whole line sat idle. The results were immediate and measurable. 0 safety violations after implementation, no unexpected production stoppages, lines flowing through the network like precision machinery. Quality control went from catching defects after they happened to preventing them before they started. Energy consumption dropped 15% because equipment was running at optimal efficiency instead of fighting against poorly timed sequences. State auditors came through twice after implementation and found nothing to flag, not because we hid problems, but because the problems didn't exist anymore. The system I built didn't just monitor compliance, it enforced it, automatically adjusted parameters to stay within safety limits, generated reports that showed not just what happened, but why it happened and how to prevent it next time. Walt would send me detailed quarterly reports that went far beyond the corporate thank you notes most clients send. Substantive analysis of efficiency improvements, cost reductions, safety metrics. He understood what he was paying for, and more importantly, what he was getting. Real value that showed up in every aspect of their operation. The contract was crystal clear because I'd learned this lesson the hard way years ago. They leased operational access to my system. I retained complete ownership of all source code, algorithms, and infrastructure. The hardware interfaces, the custom sensors, the control algorithms, all of it remained my property, licensed for their use under specific terms. Walt signed without hesitation because he understood the difference between using something and owning it. He'd spent enough time on production floors to know that the real value wasn't in the code you could see on a screen, but in the knowledge and experience that went into building it. You don't buy 25 years of troubleshooting experience. You pay for access to it. For 6 years, everything ran perfectly. Monthly payments arrived on schedule like clockwork. The system performed exactly as designed, year after year. Walt would call occasionally with questions about optimization or capacity expansion, always respectful of the boundaries we'd established. He knew which parts of the system he controlled and which parts belonged to me. Then Walt retired. The announcement came in a brief email on a Friday afternoon. Effective next month, I'll be stepping down from operations management. It's been a pleasure working with you, Jerry. I've left detailed documentation for my replacement about our service agreement and system architecture. Good luck. That documentation should have been enough to prevent what happened next. Should have been, but corporate efficiency experts don't read operations manuals. They read budget spreadsheets. And when Olivia Sterling arrived 3 weeks later with her MBA from Wharton and her leather portfolio full of cost optimization strategies, she saw my monthly invoice as just another line item to be reduced. Her first communication wasn't a greeting or introduction. Subject line: third-party vendor expense analysis. The email was pure corporate optimization language about recurring cost structures and operational dependency reduction. The kind of MBA speak that makes simple problems sound complex and complex problems sound like they can be solved with spreadsheet formulas. My invoice hadn't changed in 6 years. Same amount, same delivery schedule, same scope of work. But Olivia saw a line item on a budget sheet that represented 3.2% of their operational costs and immediately assumed there was fat to trim. She'd probably never seen a hydraulic failure shut down an entire production line for 3 days. Never watched good workers get laid off because equipment failures made their jobs impossible. I replied professionally, attaching the original contract and a summary of system performance metrics over the past 72 months, 0 unplanned downtime. 99.7% uptime across all monitored systems, energy efficiency improvements that had saved them more money than my entire 6-year contract cost. But numbers on a page don't mean much to people who've never felt the floor shake when a bearing seizure brings a 40-ton press to a dead stop. Her response came back within 90 minutes. Need to schedule comprehensive review of all external service dependencies. Please prepare full documentation for internal evaluation of operational systems. Operational systems. That phrase told me everything I needed to know about Olivia Sterling. She was the type who thought complex technical infrastructure could be understood by reviewing slide decks and reading executive summaries. Probably believed that if something could be measured, it could be managed by anyone with the right software tools. I started preparing, not documentation for her evaluation, but the contingency plans I'd need when this conversation went exactly where I knew it was heading. 4 days later, the email arrived that confirmed my suspicions. Subject line: System Architecture Documentation Request. Olivia wanted a complete copy of the system for internal assessment and potential transition planning. She didn't want to review our service agreement or understand why the current arrangement worked so well. She wanted to take my system and eliminate the monthly payment. Classic corporate efficiency thinking: why lease when you can own? Even if you don't understand what you're trying to own, I sent back a response that was technically accurate and deliberately unhelpful. Happy to provide all materials included under your current operational license. Then I walked out to my garage workshop, sat down at the master control panel I built specifically for industrial manufacturing system, and started preparing Olivia Sterling's education in the difference between access and ownership. The control panel filled one wall of my converted two-car garage. Custom hardware interfaces with dedicated circuits for every major subsystem. Production coordination, safety monitoring, quality control, regulatory compliance, all of it flowing through boards I'd assembled and programmed by hand. Indicator lights that showed the real-time status of every piece of equipment across 4 states. Temperature readings from bearings that most people didn't even know existed. Pressure measurements from hydraulic systems that kept production lines moving 24 hours a day. Olivia Sterling had no idea the control panel existed. She thought the system was software running on company servers, accessible through standard IT procedures. She was about to learn the difference between a user interface and actual operational control. 3 days after my documentation response, another email landed. Subject line, intellectual property clarification. Olivia wanted written confirmation that all operational software logic belonged to industrial manufacturing systems. She wasn't asking for a contract review or legal clarification. She was demanding that I confirm something that wasn't true, probably because some consultant had told her that was how intellectual property worked. I screenshot the relevant contract clause and sent it back, bold text impossible to misinterpret. All system architecture, source code, design logic, and operational infrastructure remains the exclusive property of Gerald Hutchinson. Licensed for operational use only, no transfer, replication, or derivative development permitted without explicit written authorization. Walt Murphy had understood that clause perfectly when he signed it 6 years ago. You don't buy a custom industrial system like you're purchasing office equipment. You license access to infrastructure that took years to develop and requires constant maintenance from the person who built it. Her response arrived 6 hours later, curt and final. We will be transitioning to internal systems management effective immediately. Final payment will be processed per contract terms. Thank you for your service. That was it. No discussion, no transition planning, no acknowledgement that she was about to disconnect the central nervous system of a 4-state production operation. Just corporate speak for you're done and we're keeping your work. I sat at my desk for a long moment staring at that email. Then I walked out to my workshop and powered up the control panel. Every indicator showed green. Production coordination flowing smoothly across 4 states. Real-time data from 73 synchronized production lines. 847 quality checkpoints receiving continuous updates. The entire industrial manufacturing corridor running exactly as I designed it. Then I started building Olivia's transition package. Professional-looking documentation with clean diagrams and impressive technical language. User interface screenshots showing dashboard layouts and data visualization panels. System architecture diagrams that looked comprehensive and detailed. Everything polished and official and completely useless without access to the underlying control systems. I spent 6 hours creating exactly the kind of deliverable Olivia expected to receive. Visual materials that would make her think she'd gotten what she needed to operate independently. Interface mock-ups with animated displays showing production flow. Network diagrams that appeared to show how everything connected. All of it disconnected from the actual infrastructure that kept their operation running. By 5:30 p.m., I had a comprehensive package ready. Documentation that looked impressive in a PowerPoint presentation but wouldn't help anyone actually control a single piece of production equipment. I attached it to an email with a single line. System interface documentation provided per contract termination. Back-end infrastructure access not included per licensing agreement. I hit send and watched the message disappear into industrial manufacturing's corporate email system, where Olivia would soon discover the difference between owning documentation and owning the system it described. Then I walked back to my workshop, sat down at the master control console, and placed my hand on the primary power relay. The real education was about to begin. The next morning, I drove to Murphy's Diner like it was any other Friday. Small place on Route 9, good coffee, quiet corner booths where you could work without interruption. Betty Murphy had been serving me the same order for 4 years. Black coffee, no cream, no sugar, wheat toast. She nodded when I walked in, poured the coffee without asking, and left me alone with my laptop. I opened the administrative console and brought up the main operations dashboard. Every indicator glowed green. Production flowing smoothly through 73 synchronized lines across 4 states. 847 quality checkpoints receiving real-time updates. Loading dock assignments cycling efficiently through 28 warehouse facilities. Everything Olivia Sterling thought she now controlled was actually flowing through the custom hardware sitting in my garage workshop 15 minutes away. At 9:47 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text message from Olivia. Having difficulty accessing route management interface. Please provide admin credentials immediately. I stared at the message for about 15 seconds, then deleted it without responding. She was probably sitting in her office, clicking through the interface documentation I'd provided, wondering why none of the login screens actually connected to anything functional. At 9:52 a.m., I toggled the master relay switch. The map on my screen froze instantly. Every green indicator went gray. Real-time data feeds dropped to 0. Production coordination stopped mid-cycle. The entire industrial manufacturing network just stopped communicating. I took a slow sip of coffee and watched 6 years of perfect production coordination die in complete silence. The system didn't crash or throw error messages. I designed it to disconnect gracefully. No alarms, no warning indicators, no dramatic shutdown sequences, just clean separation from all operational control. If someone tried to restart the user interface, it would load perfectly and display the last cached data, creating the illusion that everything was still working. But underneath, nothing was actually communicating with anything else. For the first 12 minutes, nothing appeared wrong to casual observation. Dashboard displays still showed green status indicators. Line supervisors looking at their screens would see normal production patterns and loading dock assignments. Workers already in production would continue following their last received instructions. But no new data was flowing anywhere. I pulled up the live security camera feeds I'd integrated into the monitoring system. At 10:04 a.m., I watched a forklift operator sit at a loading dock that should have opened automatically 45 seconds earlier. The dock assignment protocol was frozen, unable to coordinate with incoming deliveries. At 10:11 a.m., 2 production lines tried to feed parts into the same quality control station. According to their onboard displays, both had valid assignments for testing base 7 at the northern facility. The conflict prevention algorithm wasn't running. By 10:25 a.m., the ripple effects became visible across the network. Production backing up at 9 major choke points. Quality control conflicts at 16 different facilities. Safety systems reverting to manual protocols because the automated coordination wasn't responding. Dispatch schedules showing everything on time and synchronized, but ground reality telling a completely different story. I refreshed my email inbox. Nothing yet. They were probably still trying to figure out why the route management system wasn't responding to login attempts. At 10:34 a.m., the first confused email arrived. Subject line, quick question, data sync delay. Hey Jerry, seeing some weird lag on production updates. Can you take a look when you get a chance? Thanks, Carl Rodriguez. Carl was one of their senior operations supervisors, former Navy, good instincts. He'd figure out what was happening eventually, but right now he was just seeing symptoms. I didn't respond. By 10:48 a.m., the emails were arriving every few minutes. Route data not refreshing. Safety timing problems at Western Gate. Multiple lines showing same bay assignment. Still polite, still assuming this was some kind of technical glitch that could be resolved with a quick phone call. At 10:53 a.m., my phone started ringing. Unknown number with industrial manufacturing's area code. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call from a different number. Then a third. The panic was beginning. I pulled up the system connection logs and watched failed authentication requests hammering uselessly against the demonstration package Olivia's IT team was trying to operate as live infrastructure. Hundreds of failed handshake attempts, every request bouncing back empty because there was no actual system behind the interface. They were trying to drive a production line using only screenshots of the control panel. At 11:22 a.m., an email arrived with red priority flags. Subject line, urgent, critical system failure. Multiple operational conflicts, no response from coordination controls, dock assignments completely desynchronized. This is affecting compliance status and client contracts. Need immediate support. Please respond ASAP. Eddie Palmer, IT coordinator. The corporate politeness was cracking. They were starting to understand this wasn't a minor technical issue they could solve by restarting servers. I closed the email without reading the rest and checked the impact calculator I'd built into my monitoring tools. Conservative estimate. $340,000 in daily losses from delayed production, missed schedules, and compliance violations. Real number was probably higher once you factored in customer satisfaction penalties and contractual breaches. My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Emergency situation. Call immediately. I deleted the message. By noon, I had 53 missed calls and 29 unread voicemails. The four-state production corridor was experiencing what the military would call cascading systems failure. Nothing coordinating with anything else. Line supervisors making decisions based on stale information. Quality control issuing conflicting instructions. Warehouse managers trying to manually assign dock space while their computers insisted everything was running smoothly. I opened a new document on my laptop and started typing emergency system restoration proposal, payment due via wire transfer before reactivation. Rate, 3 times standard monthly fee for immediate restoration service. Duration, 96-hour emergency window. Conditions, full acknowledgement of service terms and intellectual property ownership. I attached the document to an email addressed to Olivia Sterling, legal counsel, and the operations director. Subject line, emergency restoration services available. Then I hit send and ordered another cup of coffee. The education phase was complete. Now came the negotiation. Protect what you create before you're forced to defend it. Read every contract. Understand every clause. Know the difference between licensing access and surrendering ownership. When someone tries to take what's yours, don't get loud or angry. Just smile calmly and say, "I'm afraid I cannot. It's not yours to own." Then watch them learn the difference between confidence and control.